I don't have memories of my mother. I lost her when I was 3. A foster home is a place where you find out who you really are. It's definitely something I wouldn't wish for any child to grow up into. Finding it to a point where you sometimes cry when you pray. I mean, if I put this hood up, just for the camera's sake, they will say he's a drug dealer. If we turned our nose up at every other crackhead, where would we be? What makes me better than that person? 2004, I was 9 years old. I came to the United Kingdom with my father and my 2 older brothers. My father abandoned us here, which then turned us to being looked after by the local authorities. We was raised in a care home. From that age, I sort of went off the rails, let's say. No parental guidance, looked after by an authority that doesn't really give you any sort of love. I say about 16 years old, it come to light that my immigration would become an issue. On my 18th birthday, fast forwarding a little bit, I was made homeless, and I was also facing deportation because I had been an overstayer, and I had overstayed a 6-month visa which was granted to me upon entering the UK, like I say, in 2004. But because I was a looked after child, I had got a sponsor for that first leave to remain application, but that only granted me leave to remain with no access to public funds. As an 18-year-old who was looking to go to university, I wasn't entitled to any funds and I wasn't entitled to university fees. The university was out of the picture. Education was not an option for me. For the social services to continue providing me a service of care, I would have to be in higher education until 25. I was still homeless. I had no access to housing, no parental help. I have set up multiple businesses that have all failed because I didn't have enough to put into them. 2020, I started a clothing label called Feel Free London. We was living in a house with my wife at the time, but her mother didn't really want me staying there, so we was forced to move to Birmingham, where my wife got a supported housing. She got a room in a supported housing. On the rules of the housing, I'm only allowed to stay until 10 p.m. every night, and I'm not allowed to stay with her. I was in a catch-22 situation. I called the shelter because I was sleeping rough. I was sleeping under the bridge in Perry Bar certain nights. It was very cold as I didn't have any social circle here. Stability more than anything is the main goal. After the stability, I can start, dreaming about bigger things and maybe taking the business back. I had a father who was very honest, active. He was there. I don't have memories of my mother. I lost her when I was 3. I had a very active father. He taught me most of the Quran that I know. He taught me how to pray. He taught me my name, what my name means. I have a clear vision of where I come from. I know who I am. The term abandoned, I don't like to throw out. It's just the best word for the situation. A foster home is a place where you find out who you really are. Definitely something I wouldn't wish for any child to grow up into, because one thing that was missing was that love. And when that love is missing, I turned into a little bit of an animal until I met my wife. She was my saviour second to Allah. She put me back onto the deen and she made me gain more love for my religion again. Being raised Muslim is one thing, but as an adult, finding your religion and finding your faith and finding it to a point where you sometimes cry when you pray. The thing that's missing is that face-to-face connection, that you are meeting with a person who genuinely cares for your story, because they don't necessarily ask you your name, where did you come from, what's your background, how is your mental health. It's based on statistics, it's based on, are you eligible? Whereas as a community, whether you're eligible or not, I'm going to take you as face value as a human. I mean, if I put this hood up, just for the camera's sake, they will say he's a drug dealer. These stereotypes have to be broken down. If we turned our nose up at every other crackhead, where would we be? What makes me better than that person? We're not in a third world country. We're not in a country where there's an excuse for people to be on the street. There's empty buildings and abandoned places everywhere.